My name is Yassine Sarah. I'm here to discuss my comparison on two different articles dealing with artificial intelligence in the mathematical classroom. One of the articles was written by Zhang et al. Its name was Can Generative Artificial Intelligence Effectively Enhance Students' Mathematical Learning Outcomes? The other one was written by McGallard and Otten, and it's an AI response to challenging problems and educator responses to AI availability. I highlighted these two articles, one in green and one in red. I did put pros and cons. The one in green talks more about AI use in the classroom and how it could be productive. And the one in red doesn't discuss not using AI, but it discusses what could be the possible risk of using AI in the classroom. The The purpose of the green article, like I said, it wants to show how can we use AI to improve the achievement. How can we reach these students using AI? How can we use it for our benefit? And the red one, the Auden article, more examines on the concerns, the risk. How are these students implementing it themselves? Are they using it the right way? Are they getting a full depth critical thinking solution, or are they just getting a level solution that doesn't really have any depth in it? I think it matters because I'm currently a teacher in East Baton Rouge Parish. I teach geometry. In the past 7, 8 years that I've seen us start implementing our technology and start using more Google Classroom, more programs, more online stuff, I've definitely seen the transition of the students to now using more AI tools. The first one that kind of came to sight was Photomath. So both of these articles discuss the issues I identified very early with Photomath. The green article, the Zhang article, is identifying, saying you can use that to check your work. You can use it to help you get to that next level, to get that fully understanding. And the red one is saying that an app like Photomath just gives you the answers without fully discussing it, without fully giving you the reason, without fully having to use your critical thinking skills. So, are you as a student fully getting a grasp of this concept? So, I've seen this with my own eyes. I know this is why it matters. I know this is where we're going in the future, and being ahead of it is very important as an educator. And you can see the stakeholders, they're very similar in both of them. This affects everybody from the administrators down to the teachers, down to the students, down to the parents and the stakeholders. And the policymakers. So it's everybody from top to bottom. It is affecting everybody. Everybody needs to have a full grasp on it, and the full grasp needs to be decisions made on research base, not just your opinion. And both of these articles do emphasize on the growing need of AI. The main findings that I found in both articles, like I said, the first one, the Zhang article, the main finding was how can we use it for a positive effect in mathematics, and the Auden article identifies more of how is it not getting into actually teaching the students and getting into the complexity of a math problem, knowing where that problem comes from and where that math problem is going. The benefits, which I use myself in my classroom, I can use individual student teaching, differentiated instruction. I can meet the student where they're at. That is a pro. That is a good thing. That falls in that green category, the Zhang article, and the red article is what my big concern is. The students aren't getting problem solving skills uh, within their mathematical problems. They're not learning how to scaffold through a problem, identifying what the misconceptions are, and correcting those misconceptions because they've been using AI ever since the foundations of their arithmetic. So there is no nothing to scaffold back to, unfortunately. So we have to figure out a way for these students to not just get the answers, but to also be able to use it in an effective way. The concerns, those are the concerns. Like I said, the concerns, first of all, for teachers is do they fully understand how they can use it in the classroom? And the concerns for the students is when they're using it, are they fully getting a good grasp of what they're learning? My recommendations, of course, would be professional development Make sure you're monitoring the students. Make sure you're using the workshops before schools to teach the actual teachers. How can they implement this into their instruction? How can they use this to benefit them? And the recommendations for how to keep the ethicness up there. The morality of it is to make sure you have guidelines in place, you have policies in place, and you're using programs such as EBR uses called GoGuardian, which makes sure they monitor the students' screens and they're using the correct, and they can restrict the websites they go to and use the correct programs and platforms. Um, I think AI is beneficial when it is used in the right way, but we have to be ahead of the students and understanding how to use that the correct way to implement it. The styles, just when you're a leader, you have to adjust. The green one is saying that whether you're talking about the implement of technology, Google Classroom, whether you're talking about a new curriculum, teachers have to adjust and have to be ahead of the students and have to be positive when they're implementing that. So same as with AI, it's going to be in the classroom. The teacher has to be ahead of them, and that's up to the instructional leaders to make those teachers aware of what they can do. And then the leadership style, make sure when you're implementing AI, you got to make sure you're managing it. Make sure you're having a clear standards, the clear expectations for the students, the understanding of if you don't use it the right way, what's going to happen to you, and that's got to be clearly laid out. I think with school leadership, AI is going to be very good, and they mention it in the green article about getting data, instant data, a way for teachers and schools to be more data driven, to make decisions based on data, using that to help improve instruction. I think that's very beneficial for leadership, and at the same time, the leadership has to make sure that students are using it for the proper academic integrity. They're not just using it to cheat. It's like having answers in the back of the book when we were growing up, where you would have all the odd answers in the back. You could always just go get the answers, but they're not going to show you the work. It's not going to show you how to do it, and it's not going to teach you and have a full understanding. It's more just checking your work, which students can use AI to check their work if they're using it in the right way. I think ethical concerns, of course, we have to make sure the students know it's not right to use. It is a cheating. It is being dishonest. So the red article definitely identifies that. And then if you are using it in the right way, you can use it. It is a way to benefit you. So Zhang's article mentions that. Of course, the stakeholders you mentioned, it's from top to bottom. We don't want the students. We want the students to have personalized learning. We want the students to have differentiated instruction. We want to meet the students where they're at. That's what Zhang mentions in his article. And we don't want the students to be dependent on it. I need the students to actually be able to come up. What if they don't have AI? What if it's not available at that time? Can you still get the answer? Can you still problem solve? Can you scaffold through what you know? Can you go back and pull something out from a previous concept to help you find a solution? And that's where the problem thinking skills come in. Um, I think the NLEP alignment, it aligns with equality, make sure everybody, this is the Zhang article mentioning, make sure everybody's on the same page, making sure the curriculum, making sure the availability is the same for everybody, which can also be a concern if some schools have the availability of some programs and other schools don't. How are we going to make that a level playing field? And then the alignment, it deals with the stakeholders, and it deals with the ethics behind it, and are we using it the right way? We can use it, but we need to be using it the right way, which leads us to know that leaders must be balanced, they must understand the ethics, and they must be ahead of the game when implementing it. Um, I think the strengths, when you're talking about the strengths of having AI, large samples, strong evidence, those kind of things are what you want to base your decisions on, not just your perspective. And that's kind of where this article says you need to be actually learning it. You need to be getting to know where to use it and identifying what is the right time and the wrong time to use it. And that's gonna and not just use your previous perspectives on what you think artificial intelligence AI is. I think the limitation is right now it is an ongoing changing thing. So we do have limited long term data, is what they mentioned in the same article. Um, but how is it going to help out the students? The limitations for them right now, when you get an answer from AI, it's not teaching them the critical thinking skills. It's not teaching them. It's just teaching them short-term focus, how to get that answer right now instead of being able to sit down and work through something. Um, I think the leadership influence. It's them adapting to technology the same way we adapted to the programs, the Google Classroom, all of that. They have to adapt to AI, and that's what we mentioned earlier. And I think that students is very important to have those critical thinking skills in the geometry in a math classroom. Being able to reason, why do you think this is this? Why? What's your opinion on? Everybody can have their opinion, but you got to have your reasoning behind that opinion. That shows up a lot in proofs. Actually having the students think through their pencil, um, putting it down on paper, knowing what they know, and the AI kind of dissolves that median, I guess, between asking the question and them giving me the answer. I want to know where it's coming from. Um, so the application, we have to be ahead. We have to use workshops. We have to use professional development. We have to be able to teach the teachers how to use AI. And then the Auden article, the red article, we got to make sure we lay down the policy for the students and the teachers, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and what's the consequences. I think the challenges, of course, is the buy-in, the equity, the funding, and making sure all the teachers, all the schools have that same platforms that's available for the school across the street. While also the Auden deals with, like we mentioned, we use GoGuardian. We can monitor how the students are using AI, whether they're using it for, and what's the key ways of monitoring that and restricting them from breaking those policies. I think key questions that I came up with would be how do you ensure that the accessibility of it is equal throughout the schools, and then how do you preserve your critical thinking skills? So that's something that I've been working on, with my students and making sure they understand how to work through answers. Comparison of both articles. I think both, like I said, the green one talks about the benefits, how can it help you. The Otten article talks about the risk of it. I think we can use it, the learning impact. We can use AI to do differentiated instruction. We can use it to use meaningful instruction for that individual student. But the risk of it, of course, is they're losing their reasoning, they're losing their why. Why is this work and where's it coming from? I think the teacher, you got to make it implement it into your instruction. You got to make it a learning support. You have to be able to use it in the classroom, and you also got to be able to use the limits. Though, so in the article, of course, the policies, the standards, the limits, where are we restricting it? The shared idea that both of these have is that teachers need to be ahead of the game, and they need to be the ones that are implementing it. They need to be learning it at professional developments, and they need to be able to help the students whenever it's time to use it, and to be able to identify when they're not using it properly. I think across the leadership lessons across both is that the leaders need to make evidence-based decisions, not just based on your emotions or what your previous thoughts on AI are. It's got to be equal. We got to make sure we stay under the policies, the ethics of everything. Make sure everything is under an umbrella, so it doesn't get out of hand. And teachers, they need the training. They need to know when to use it and how to use it. Um, I think for teachers, like I said, I've been seeing the transition of AI in the mathematics classroom. I don't think in the past 4 or 5 years it's being used in the right way by the students, but that doesn't mean that we can't take a grasp of it now and put those policies out there and get more information on AI and the proper ways to use it. I think successful AI integration, it depends on the teacher, it depends on using it the right way, and it depends on everything aligning up. All right. Thank you.